Oh, baby, it is Friday night pizza night at our house. Look at that. If you are looking for a next level out of this world, in my opinion, homemade pizza recipe, you've got to try this. This is our go-to. Hey, buddy, none for you. Sorry. Go-to for years, and it accompanies movie night. There are the kiddos transfixed on the screen. You can talk to them, ask them questions, anything you want, but they will not respond while that TV's on. So we've got a recipe for them and a recipe for the adults. One's a little spicier, one's a little more mild. But here is what we're starting with. We want to get this. We're going to be home making the dough here from scratch, and so here's how we do it. You'll want to early in the morning. Get up and leisurely. You don't have to do it first thing, right? But you want to allow some time for the dough to rise. So we've got some water, we've got some yeast, kind of room temperature water here, and we just let it sit for, 5 minutes or so. And what that's doing is activating the yeast. You don't want the water too hot or too cold, but once 5 minutes or so is up, you want to make sure all that yeast is submerged, right? Put a dash of salt and a little bit of olive oil in the mix. And if you're wondering what these exact measurements are, check out the description below. I'll put the full recipe in there. It's probably better to have it written as opposed to me telling you. I'll certainly be referencing specific ingredients throughout the video here, but you can see we are adding some flour, and don't skimp on the quality of flour. We found that go ahead and spend the extra few bucks to get that higher quality. I think we use King Arthur's, if I'm not mistaken. We had been using the dollar bag generic stuff for years, and then we figured out, oh my gosh, try the more expensive stuff. It's definitely worth it. So that would be one huge tip for you. Get a high quality flour. And you can see we're adding a little bit of water to just kind of make that a little more workable here. And again, this is first thing in the morning, preparing the dough. And once you get all that, and this is a hot, sticky mess, by the way, there's no way around it. Use some of the cheap flour, have some generic flour next to you to keep your hands drier so it doesn't stick, as opposed to the more expensive stuff. By the way, I should introduce my wife. Here she is, everybody. She pretty much spearheads this. I'll do it every once in a while, but she really likes it, finds it nice and calming. Look at this. When do you ever get the chance to take the time out of your day to knead some dough, right? And this go get 'em Monday through Friday, so it's kind of a nice relaxing thing. Now, obviously that had been sitting all day. That wasn't just poof, there it is, risen, right? But this is kind of what it should look like after several hours at room temperature and covered. So you'll cover it, and then you can see it. When you uncover it, it kind of looks like this, right? So it should be nice and poofy and sticky, and that is an indication of a successful yeast rise. So we are going to add a little bit of flour, mostly to just make it a little more workable with the hands here. And by the way, welcome to the channel. You can check out the About Me. Subscribe to the channel if you want some cool videos. I do lots of do-it-yourself videos and projects, but we do really anything around the house to make your place and space a little better. So lots of reviews and some cool gourmet-like recipes from what I would consider to be a very common household. Just kidding. We're special. We're super special. All right, so cut that in half, and you can actually freeze some of the dough for next week. So you don't have to do this every week or every time. You can actually let that sit in the freezer and hang out, and then you can just unthaw it later, and then you pretty much have this workable stage. Or you'll start here in the next week or the next 2 weeks or so. So what we're gonna do is cut out a little bit for the kids' pizza. So we'll make a kid's pizza and an adult pizza. I know it sounds so risque, right? But we prefer a little spicier flavor, and the kids get straight up pretty much pepperoni and cheese. And we are not putting on tomato sauce either because they have a severe phobia of tomato sauce for some reason. No tomato sauce. And we're not going to lie here. The thin crust is a bit challenging my advice to you, forgive yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just kind of want general shape. Grab some of that cheap generic flat flour. Keep that rolling pin nice and dry. Keep your dough covered in flour so that when you roll it, it compresses easier and doesn't stick to the pin. Just like this. This is real time, folks. And forgive yourself. If you have a tear, that's fine. Just kind of pinch it together. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now, I'm going to share with you a secret here that I don't think, certainly when I have made homemade pizzas in the past, I have not pre-baked my crust. I just put it on like that with the toppings and call it good. Well, the secret that I have to share with you today involves pre-baking your crust a little bit. Not too much. The thinner the pizza, the thinner the crust, the less time you want to pre-bake. For how long? It kind of depends on altitude and temperature and all that. We'll put what works for us down in the description below, of course. But what we're going to do here, very carefully, it's kind of like a sheet. Can you see that? And again, if it tears, it's not the end of the world. Just kind of pinch the holes together. And we're going to make the ends a little thicker, or the kind of the pizza crust edge a little thicker, and get it nice and thin in the middle. Thin style, one of my favorites. I like that crispy crunch of the pizza once it's done. So how do you get it to this point? We will be pre-baking. But let's go ahead and get both pizzas flattened out. Again, keep that pin. It's going to want to stick. Just keep some flour on it. And then check out the direction here. You want to get it to the general shape of the pan that you're putting it in, right? So it doesn't have to be a square or, whatever. In this case, it's going to be kind of a larger rectangle. So, and notice the technique of we're not rolling back and forth. It's more like one roll, lift, and carry it back, and then put it down again on the crust and roll again, right? You can rewind that part. This is a recommendation to make your life a little easier. If you roll it back and forth, it's going to have a tendency to stick a little easier. So, and then check out how do you get it off of the actual stone countertop in this case. You kind of lift it up because that compression with the rolling pin will actually make it adhere and stick to the countertop. So when you pull it off directly, it'll be a problem for you. So you just kind of lift up the edges like this. It's going to want to stick a little bit. Try to lift it all up first. This is real time. And then once you get things kind of detached, it'll lift off a lot easier. And it should come off in one piece. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. Don't hold yourself to too high of a standard here. All right. I can't believe I said that. I hold myself to an incredibly high standard. This is driving me nuts. Look at that wrinkle right there. I just want to fix that. I am kind of an obsessive person, but whatever. I'll let it pass. Let it slide. All right, here we go. We've got both crusts ready to rock. We've got the oven preheated there, you can see. And we're going to put the kids' pizza in first because we want to feed them and actually have a little bit of time to ourselves. So we're going to, both of them are going at the same time, it looks. Now, again, how much time? I don't recommend counting the clock here. You can certainly clean up while you're doing this, but you're going to kind of want to look for this. Can you see how the thin part's going to turn browner a little faster than the outer side? That's fine. The one on the left is probably slightly too brown, and the one on the right looks, I think, pretty good. But you want like a really light brown so that, in other words, when you put this back in with all the toppings, as you see we're doing here, you don't want everything to cook fast. So this pre-baking, it basically just helps with the timing so that everything kind of gets finished synchronously at the same time, right? To the point where the crust is crispy but not overdone, and all the cheese is melted and not burned, right? So it's kind of a fine line. So the biggest tip I could give you is pre-bake that crust for several minutes. Historically, it's been kind of between 6 minutes and 15 minutes, but keep an eye on it, right? Look for that color. And then once it's pre-baked, and obviously be careful the pan is hot at this point, you can apply the toppings. Here we're putting on the kids' toppings. We have no tomato sauce, but we are putting on the pepperonis and the cheese in that order. You can switch it around if you prefer the pepperonis to be buried, so to speak, but that part is up to you. Spacing and how many, totally preferential. And then we'll put some of this lovely spice on it. This is, and I'll put links down below, a spice that we like to kind of add on to the homemade pizza. And we're going to be taking a little brush here and painting on some olive oil to the crust. Just helps it, I think it gives it a better flavor, but helps it kind of brown a little nicer, I think. And look how pretty it looks too. So a little bit of olive oil on the coating of the edges. That's the kids' pizza going in. And again, depending on temperature and altitude and all that good stuff, the timing may vary. So keep an eye on that. That thin crust will cook pretty fast. So, and while we're waiting, we can prepare the adult pizza. Scandalous, the adult pizza. So we've got jalapenos and onions. And so we will take care of the jalapenos. You can see here. Obviously, put whatever the heck you want on your pizza. But this we found is pretty nice. The fresh jalapenos, we don't go nuts with them, but making sure each slice, once it's kind of cut, the pizza is portioned off. Each slice has, I don't know, 3 little pieces of jalapeno or so. It gives it a little subtle heat, but not overly. Now, instead of tomato sauce, another tip here is to actually use the little cherry tomatoes. Buy a little can of those and have them. Cut them in half, and then that can be your tomato base, so to speak. Obviously, you can get some, pizza sauce or some tomato sauce itself and put on there, but this is our preferred way. And it's fresh too. Can't beat that, right? And check out the spacing and whatnot. We'll put some onions on there as well. Get it laid out proportionally as well as we can. And wash your hands after you handle the jalapenos, because that will follow you around on your skin. So if you're a contact wearer, if you itch your eye, look out. I learned that the hard way. And the color's really starting to take form. And we'll go ahead and get rid of some of that color there and just douse it all in a nice cheese. And obviously you can put whatever cheese you want on there. We actually put 2 different types of cheese on. You can see there, 2 different bags. And that's got a really nice flavor once it's all said and done. Melts well. All right, so it's starting to take shape, the adult pizza. We'll get this a few more. Oh, we haven't even put the pepperonis on yet, so that's the next step. There we go. Put it in any order you want. Okay, kids' pizza is done. We'll get that out of there and get them fed. That turned out pretty well. Very crispy. And then the adult pizza, we'll put that special seasoning on it, and then we will brush the olive oil. There's a look at that special seasoning. It's for your burger, but don't tell anybody. It's pretty good. Pretty good. All right, moving right along. Put those finishing touches on. And you can just drizzle the rest of the olive oil on there so you don't have to waste it. It's an art, not a science, right? And we'll get that pizza in the oven. Again, timing is not super important. Keep a visual eye on it. See, if you don't pre-bake your crust is going to come out underdone while everything else is melted on top. All right, here's the kids' pizza. We'll get that cut. Another tip, use a scissors. Don't mess around with the roller. Get out a scissors, special scissors for your kitchen. Keep it in there. Scissors are awesome. You can cut steak with scissors. Did you know that? And pizza, precision cuts. And you look how thin that is. Beautiful, nice and crispy. And the kids will just take care of this. They will not complain at all. We'll get the adult pizza in there. Fast forward here a little bit for you, and this is what it looks like coming out, piping hot. And we do this, again, every Friday night. We don't mess around with ordering pizza. This saves us a lot of money, and I think it's superior pizza. I mean, obviously, there's some really good pizza at various restaurants, right? Maybe you got a favorite pizza place, but try this, and I would wager to bet that you might actually prefer this pizza. Buy the right ingredients, make it just like this, and wow, you won't regret it. All right, well, hopefully this has put a smile on your face and your family's. Click that like button if this video helped you out, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome videos. Thanks for being with me.